I'm very pleased to have in the studio with me Sam Sachs, writer and co-founder of the District Sentinel News Co-op, the website districtsentinel.com. They live in Washington, D.C., so you don't have to. Is that right, Sam?
You've got it. You've got the motto down.
There you go. And you can tweet him at Sam Sachs, and it's spelled rather, S-A-C-K-S, not as in Goldman Sachs, but as in, a bag or something, right. S-A-C-K-S.
Not as Goldman Sachs or Saks Fifth Avenue. We're not related to the famous Sachses, I suppose.
There you go. So you don't sponsor candidates for office.
No, we're the working class Sachs family.
Working class Sachs family.
Right.
So it's at Sam, S-A-C-K-S. Sam, what's hot in the District Sentinel right now?
So we've got a few stories up over at the District Sentinel today. First off, the FBI is set to unveil a new Countering Violent Extremism program, short for CVE, three letters that you see the government say a lot, you see the media say a lot, Countering Violent Extremism. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But this new program seems to have a lot of problems. It's called Shared Responsibility Committees. And the way it works is that when the FBI gets a tip, first off, although there's all sorts of different types of violent extremism in the United States, we had the church shooting last year with Dylan Roof. We had the abortion clinic shootings out in Colorado last December. The FBI, when they talk about countering violent extremists, they're mainly talking about Arabs and Muslims.
I'm not talking about these white Christians who actually have killed more people since 9/11 than have Muslims in the United States.
Exactly, and that's been a major knock on the federal CVE efforts all along. But this latest program called Shared Responsibility Committees, the way it works is when the FBI gets a tip about someone who might be saying they intend to commit violence or maybe just browsing certain websites that people are uncomfortable with, the FBI will take that tip, they'll reach out to a community leader. It could be a religious leader, could be a teacher, could be a medical professional, and they'll enlist that person's help to talk to this person, which sounds reasonable and all, try and get the community involved to assist people. But what's really going on is they're enlisting these community leaders as informants who are expected to inform back to the FBI on all the problems, not tell the individual that they're counseling that they have a relationship with the FBI. But that includes handing over medical documents, handing over whatever sort of documents that might help the FBI in their investigation of this guy. So the big problem here is, and this is from the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, the president of it, Samer Khalaf, basically said that the SRC program is tantamount to outsourcing the FBI surveillance apparatus to trusted community and religious leaders. And he warned that this is going to do more to tear communities apart, not bring them together.
This is the problem that, is it Bratton, the New York City police commissioner? He wrote this op-ed, just scathing op-ed about Ted Cruz and Donald Trump's rhetoric about following Muslims and policing their communities. That the New York Police Department did that
exactly
under the direction of Michael Bloomberg at the urging of George W. Bush. And it not only did not produce one useful lead, but it totally alienated the Muslim community. I mean, once they found out that their mosques were being spied on, that all these people who were showing up to be their friends were actually FBI spies, it just kind of closed down.
Right. I mean, it's good to have a healthy relationship between law enforcement and communities so that when communities see something wrong, they can feel trusted going to law enforcement about it. This tears that apart.
Right. And the FBI already has a tip program. In fact, the majority of tips in the United States, the majority of intelligence in the United States that has led to Muslim extremists who might commit harm has come out of the Muslim community.
Absolutely. This is happening organically. People care about their community. They come forward with stuff. What law enforcement is doing is creating another type of surveillance apparatus, enlisting the help of community leaders to carry it out. So as much as people want to be outraged about what Ted Cruz says, as you said, the NYPD had engaged in this behavior before, and this is in a way similar to Ted Cruz's proposal.
Amazing. Okay, what else is going on?
More good news. Not exactly, but a new Inspector General report from the Department of Justice came out today, and it reviewed federal prisons. They looked at 97 federal facilities, and they found that at more than 10% of those facilities, they had crisis levels of understaffing of medical professionals. Not enough nurses, doctors at these jails. In fact, 12 out of 97 of the Bureau's correctional facilities were medically staffed only at 71%.
Wow. This is particularly problematic given that since Reagan basically shut down our mental health infrastructure, we now find that depending on the state, depending on the jail, and I don't know what the number is for federal prisons, but as many as half of all people in prison are actually mentally ill and shouldn't be in prison. They should be treated someplace else.
Yeah, and this only makes that problem even worse. It's according to agency regulations, they have to have 90% staffing. They can't drop below 90% for more than a year. They found that these federal prisons were at 71% staffing since 2014.
Is this the result of like the sequester or something?
It's not a result of the sequester, at least not as far as the Inspector General could find. He said it had to do with a lot to do with the location of a lot of these prisons and the salary for workers at a lot of these prisons are not competitive enough for them to take these jobs. But more troubling, the Bureau of Prisons didn't even identify this as a challenge when they were asked about it. They didn't see this potentially as being a problem at all, which is again troubling because the Inspector General noted that this is the sort of stuff that can lead to prison riots. And they actually cited an incident in 2009 at Reeves County Detention Center where there was a riot that followed after one inmate died in a solitary confinement cell of epilepsy.
Yeah.
So, this could, have snowball consequences here if it's not addressed.
Yeah. What else is up?
In this, I think you talked about on the show earlier today, but President Obama is endorsing Debbie Wasserman Schultz in her election down in Florida. This is the first time she's had a serious primary challenge.
It's the first time she's ever had any primary challenge.
Right. There's not much of a general election challenge there, too. Right. It's a very heavily Democratic-leaning district. And this is coming from Tim Canova, who is a solid progressive. He's kind of riding the Bernie wave a little bit.
Yeah, he's taking no corporate money. He's got no super PAC, and he's doing it entirely. His whole thing is out of his website, timcanova.com, where people can sign up and make contributions up to $2,700, and that's it. I mean, so it's all small donor money.
So this is something that a lot of progressives would be unnerved about, the president endorsing Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's come under a lot of criticism for her role as the DNC chair and seemingly being preferential to Hillary Clinton. Another problem here is that the White House has long said that they will not participate and they will oppose any efforts to weaken the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. We know that the CFPB is about to create a rule on payday lenders, predatory payday lenders. And yet Debbie Wasserman Schultz has introduced legislation that would preempt a lot of states from that rule.
Including her state, which has much weaker rules.
Exactly, including her state. Also co-sponsoring that legislation is Congressman Chris Murphy, who's running for Marco Rubio's Senate seat in Florida, who's also received the endorsement of the White House. So despite the White House's promises to not weaken the CFPB, they are endorsing candidates in Florida, have introduced legislation to do exactly that.
That's interesting. And Murphy is being challenged by Alan Grayson, isn't he?
That's right.
In the Democratic primary.
And the polls show that is actually a fairly tight race.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the president came out and endorsed Martha Coakley when it was clear that she was not doing all that well in Massachusetts. It seems like the president.
I don't think she had a Democratic challenger that was at the time challenging her when they did that. But
it may well be. It may have been. Yeah, she was.
General.
In the general, she was going up against Scott Walker.
Yeah,
or Scott Brown. Yeah,
Scott Brown, in his pickup truck that he drove all around the state.
Yeah. And his pickup truck and his flannel shirt that made great photo ops for. Yeah. He is one of the more bizarre political stories in our history. Anyhow, Sam Sachs at SAMSACKS if you want to tweet him. The website districtsentinel.com. Sam is a writer and the co-founder of the District Sentinel News Co-op. You can join the News Co-op and be part of the news. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Sam, thanks so much for being with us today.
Tom, appreciate it.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.